I'm going to show you how to make a great vegetarian pasta now, and we're going to be using an induction stove today, which is incredibly simple to use. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop our boiling water on. So just whack that up on full temperature and you'll see just how quickly that comes up to the boil. We're going to start making a sauce, but first of all we're going to prepare the ingredients to go in there. Commonly found ingredients, very simple and quick to prepare, less than 10 minutes when you get home from work. So garlic, trim the ends off, and just a little fine dice. Always very important when you're doing these sort of jobs to work with a sharp knife. There's actually more chance of cutting yourself with a blunt knife than there is if you've got a nice sharp knife that goes through the garlic and the onion. Next up, red onion. In half, we're just going to get a little fine dice. Next thing is our mushrooms, which we're going to prepare now. Depending on the time of the year, lots of different varieties of mushrooms. I'm just going to use some little chestnut mushrooms and some large portobello mushrooms today. You can use any variety of wild mushrooms, from chanterelles, even little button mushrooms, whatever you have available. So just pop the little root out in there because it's a little bit woody on the big ones. And we're just going to roughly dice those. Little tip of mushrooms, very important that you don't wash them. A lot of people run them straight under cold running water. Mushrooms are actually very porous and they absorb a lot of water. So you really don't want to wash them, because what would happen then is you'd cook them and they become very sort of insipid and soggy. So that's the worst thing you could ever do, is wash them. If they are a little bit dirty, a little damp cloth, just pat off any of the dirt. So roughly chopped. Same with our chestnut mushrooms. As you'll see in a second, we're going to get some great colour on these, and they're both quite sort of strong, robust mushrooms that are going to stand up to the cooking really well. Now, just to highlight the beauty of the induction, in the time that it's taken me to chop the garlic, the onions, and a few of the mushrooms, we're already at the boiling point. So that is just how fast it works. Now we're just going to turn that down to simmer, which, as you can see, happens pretty much instantly, and we're just going to go make our sauce. Now, start that sauce off, a little bit of olive oil in there. We're working on a low to medium temperature, and we're going to start off by adding in our fragrant ingredients, which are our red onions and our garlic. Very important to keep this sort of controlled temperature at this stage. You don't want that sizzling heat that's going to burn your garlic. Nice and slow. We're going to not add any colour, but just sweat them off. I'm also going to add in some fresh thyme, lovely aromatic, fragrant herb. So just pick those leaves off. And remove any of the stalks. Now we're just going to gently simmer that for about 2 to 3 minutes until it all starts to soften up. Now, as you can see, those are starting to soften up. Perfect time to turn the temperature up a little bit and pop in our mushrooms. Now we're going to cook these for about 3 to 4 minutes. Turn the heat up to sort of a medium to high temperature, because we really want to get that sort of golden brown, caramelized, nutty texture, and just stir them occasionally for about 2 to 3 minutes. Now, a couple more ingredients to prepare that are going in there. First off, a courgette. So just trim the ends off. Big mistake that a lot of people make with courgettes is they put them in too early in the cooking process. They get all sort of watery and really, really soft. You want to put it in at the end and just keep a little bite to it. So just into an even dice. We're also going to go with our spring onions, which we're going to add in at the end. And last but not least, a little bit of tarragon, a really nice aniseed, strong, pungent herb. Just pick a few of the leaves off. Generous with the tarragon, and we're just going to give it a rough chop. Doesn't matter if there's some whole leaves in there. Nice soft herb that's going to work really well. If I go back over here, you can see my mushrooms starting to take on a really nice colour. There's about 2 or 3 minutes left in that cooking process, so we're going to turn our water back up. Now watch just how quickly that comes back up to the boil because we're using the induction. It's literally going to take about 10 seconds. We're using fresh tagliatelle today, which is the sort of pasta you find in the supermarket aisle in the fridge, which is going to cook in about 2 minutes flat. And as soon as that water comes up to the boil, in with a little bit of salt, a little bit of oil in the water so the pasta doesn't stick. And you can see that's boiling already. Absolutely incredible using the induction. So in goes our tagliatelle. And at this stage, we're just going to add a couple more ingredients into our sauce. So our cream, the courgettes, as I mentioned, going in at this stage, so as they keep that nice little bite to them. Just bringing it back up to the boil. I'm going to season that sauce. So black pepper, a little bit of salt, and just give your pasta a little stir to make sure it's all breaking up nicely. Now, last thing, we're going to prepare lovely fresh asparagus. So trim them down into little rounds. Again, we're going to have that lovely little crunch, and we're just going to leave the tips in little whole pieces like that. Those are really pretty and going to work nicely in our sauce. Now you can see our sauce coming to the boil, practically finished. All we're going to do is add those lovely green ingredients that we've got because we want to keep them nice and crunchy and that lovely green color. If you cook them for too long, they're going to lose all that color. So in those go to the sauce. I'm also going to add a little bit of grated Parmesan. Lovely distinct flavor, and it's also going to help thicken our sauce and bind it all together. So in that goes. Just going to give it a little stir. You can see that's coming together absolutely beautifully. Now strain the pasta. Kept a tiny little bit of the water in there. That's going to help bring the sauce together. You can see that's come back up to the boil. Absolutely gorgeous. We're going to add it into our pasta straight away. Lovely colors, beautiful aromas coming off there. All we're going to do is give them a little stir up. Such a simple but absolutely delicious pasta dish. Now to plate it, incredibly simple. Nice big white bowl to show off those gorgeous colors, and just straight in. All I'm going to do to finish it off, lovely big sprig of thyme up on top, maybe a little crack of black pepper, a little drizzle of olive oil. Taking us less than 10 minutes to prepare. Lovely, lovely pasta dish with wild mushrooms and tarragon.